Marvel's newest game is nearly here, so just like I've done for Rivals and Mystic Mayhem in the past, I'll be covering the first comic appearance of every Cosmic Invasion character. Well, except the ones I've already covered in the series. We get our first new character in Fantastic Four number 48, the story kicking off in Atalan, as the Inhuman Maximus has decided to create a massive dome of energy around the city, which, unfortunately, separates Johnny and his girlfriend Crystal, as the Fantastic Four drag him out of the bubble. If things couldn't get any worse, though, as they're flying back to New York, a second sun appears, blowing up and lighting the entire sky on fire. People start panicking, so Johnny tries to calm them down, but for some reason, they assume the guy on fire is responsible for the fire and attack him. Luckily, the Thing shows up, saving the defenseless superhero from the horrible civilians by punching them in the face. But the fire suddenly disappears, quickly being replaced with rocks, as the Watcher shows up, warning Reed and Sue that someone is rapidly approaching the planet. It turns out to be the Silver Surfer, announcing that he heralds the arrival of his master. But the Thing again just resorts to punching whatever he sees, knocking the Surfer off his board. Though that doesn't stop his master, Space Santa Galactus, from reaching Earth. You'll never guess our next character, appearing in Nova number 1. The planet Xandar has just been destroyed, and the final survivor, Nova Prime, drifts through space, searching for a worthy successor of his powers. As we cut to Earth, where Richard Rider is being bullied by one of his classmates, getting slapped in the back of the head right as he gets surrounded by some weird energies, knocking him into a coma. In the hospital, he starts getting visions of Nova Prime, claiming that he's been chosen to defeat the monster who destroyed Xandar, suddenly waking up and shooting lasers out of his eyes. The next day, he zones out in class, debating whether his vision was real or not. When the teacher asks him a math question he randomly knows the answer to, despite being terrible at math. He eventually arrives back at his house, deciding a kid like him couldn't possibly be a hero, when the energy suddenly hits him again, transforming him into Nova, immediately testing out his new powers by flying around the city. Some civilians commenting that there's too many new heroes nowadays. He also, coincidentally, runs into Zor, the guy who killed Nova Prime, just casually hanging out in New York. They get into a brief fight, with Zor easily kicking Nova's ass, though out of nowhere, Zor randomly disappears. The comic ends with Richard heading home, as some narration mentions that Nova Prime killed Zor with his dying breath. No explanation of how, he just did it, he just killed him, he just died. We get our only non-cosmic character in Savage She-Hulk number 1. Bruce Banner is on the run from the cops, so he decides to visit his lawyer cousin Jennifer Walters for help, revealing that he's secretly the Hulk before she agrees to let him stay with her. Though, unfortunately, Jen is currently defending a man who's been framed with murder, and she's discovered who actually committed it. So the real killer has tracked her down, shooting her in her own driveway, before Bruce hoses the guy and drags her into the house. Now, for $1 million, what does Bruce do next? Is it A, call 911 because Jen has just been shot, or is it B, decide to give her a blood transfusion with his own blood that he is fully aware contains lethal amounts of gamma radiation, then still call 911 afterwards, getting himself arrested, casually transforming into the Hulk to escape, and leaving Jen unguarded at the hospital after she's just been shot in a drive-by. Oof, now this is a tough one. Anyways, some hitmen disguised as doctors show up to kill Jen, luckily transforming into She-Hulk and beating the shit out of them before convincing them to admit their crimes in front of the cops. The comic ends with her transforming back to normal as she returns to her hospital room. Temporarily staying on Earth, we've got Thor number 337. Donald Blake is on a nice walk in the park when he's suddenly kidnapped and forced into a car, though it turns out to be driven by Nick Fury. Donald transforming into Thor on the ride to the helicarrier, as it's revealed S.H.I.E.L.D. has discovered a spacecraft that eats suns for fuel, and it seems to be heading straight towards Earth. So Thor immediately heads off to confront it, smashing through the hull, though there doesn't seem to be anyone on board, until Thor checks out a life pod, and a hand bursts out, which belongs to Beta Ray Bill, immediately attacking Thor, though Bill keeps calling him a demon, which confuses the god. Unfortunately, during their fight, Thor is separated from Mjolnir, and during this era of comics, if Thor didn't touch his hammer every 5 seconds, he transforms back into the mortal Donald Blake, easily being knocked out. Bill's sentient ship, Scuttlebutt, manages to land them safely, as he picks up Donald's cane, revealing that he's worthy of wielding Mjolnir, just as Odin appears in the sky, demanding his son's aid and accidentally teleporting Bill instead. The comic ending with the real Thor crying out in the rain. Reaching the 2000s, we get Captain Marvel number 16. Mar-Vell's son Genus has just been kidnapped by an alien wearing his mother's face, though it claims to actually be his mother, and his powers are also telling him it's his mother. But it couldn't possibly be his mother, at least he doesn't think so, pulling out a gun before blasting her in the face and escaping. He then ends up running into Epiphany, the daughter of Eternity, and they sleep together, her convincing him to revive Rick Jones. Oh, why is Rick Jones dead, you may be asking? Well, Genus and Rick kinda share a cosmic connection, which Genus got tired of dealing with, telling Rick to jump off a building, which Rick did. Oh, also, Rick is in the Microverse, which also happens to contain a cult-like fan club to Rick, who've decided to cremate his body in a micro-massive ceremony, though luckily, Genus is able to use their connection to revive him before it happens. We then cut back to the woman who couldn't possibly be Genus's mother, who's working with Thanos' brother Star Fox to chase him down, quickly finding him floating in space, though it turns out to have been a mirage Genus placed as a distraction. The comic ending with them recruiting a new ally, Genus's sister, Phyla-Vell. Our final and strongest character appears in Thanos number 13, the story kicking off on the homeworld of the Chitauri, as Thanos has just accidentally stumbled upon them, conquering their entire civilization within 5 hours, and claiming his spot on their throne. Unfortunately, he's quickly told that someone else is also attacking the planet, the Chitauri having just assumed that the two of them were working together, as suddenly the cosmic Ghost Rider zooms up. Thanos immediately guesses he must work for Mephisto and backhands the shit out of him, though he whips out some chains made of Sidorak's bones to tie Thanos up before pulling out a chunk of the Time Stone, revealing he's actually a Herald of Galactus from millions of years in the future, and attaching Thanos to his bike to bring him there, screaming the whole way that he'll kill anyone who opposes him. Though, once he reaches the Rider's boss, he realizes there is no one to oppose him. Thanos has already won.